order. Today is Tuesday, May 28th. I thank you all for being here. If I can have everyone please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. DiGiovanni.
Present.
Ms. Manalo.
Present.
Dr. Rod.
Present.
Mr. Buenaventura. Mr. Sylvester.
Present. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome this evening. If there's any matter that we will be discussing tonight and you would like to speak on that matter, please fill out a card, which you can find at both ends at the end of council chamber. Fill it up, and please submit it up here to staff. Thank you so much. All right, starting the agenda, the first item on the agenda is resolutions. Number 1, to accept and appropriate fiscal year 2000.
Presentation.
Oh, okay. Oh. Do I have that? Oh, I'm sorry. Presentations. I'm sorry, Mr. Sanchez. Because you were very important to me. I wasn't going to forget you. All right. We have 2 presentations this evening, folks. And the first one is Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse, otherwise known as CORA, and Officer of the Quarter Award, which we will we're going to honor Daly City Police Officer Cody Lizana. If I can have a Colisaria Henderson, the CORA Executive Director, come on up, please.
She unfortunately isn't here today,
Oh,
so my name is Celeste Mercado, and I'm a manager of Crisis Support Services.
Great, great. There's a microphone. We want to hear you in your full glory.
Hello. Hello?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So my name is Celeste Mercado, and I'm the manager of Crisis Support Services, and I oversee our hotline and emergency response program, which is working with law enforcement and collaborating with them. So CORA is a domestic violence agency here in the county of San Mateo, and we receive about 10,000 calls countywide. And from those 10,000 calls, we get about 3,000 to 4,000 referrals from law enforcement. Our services are free and confidential for all victims and survivors of domestic abuse with their intimate partner. We have a great collaboration with law enforcement here in the county, where we provide training, ongoing support, and referrals from them. We have services from counseling, emergency shelter, which someone can stay up to 8 weeks. It's confidential, and it provides advocates to support them throughout their journey to become stable and be safe from their abusive partner. We also have children's program. We have a YAY program, which is supporting youth. As many of you know, sometimes youth are in their first relationship. They don't understand what is abuse, right? It's verbal abuse, it's social media abuse, and all of that. So we provide ongoing education around that, right? We do safety planning with them as well, on how to be safe at their homes if they weren't ready to leave, and we provide that support to them. We have legal services as well that has with family law matters, as well as restraining orders. And like I mentioned, all of our services are free to them and confidential. Every quarter we offer an award to an officer of the quarter, and this award is chosen by our crisis counselors and our advocates to see an officer that goes beyond of just making a referral, someone that is there to support a victim in their most time of need, when they're in crisis mode, when they need someone to support them and listen to them, and also see what they need. And our counselors choose one of many, many officers here in the county that goes beyond that. And this quarter, we chose Officer Lizana from Daly City as one of those officers.
My name is
Kathy Anderson, and I'm retired law enforcement. And as Celeste said, there are so many referrals that come in from law enforcement, and for us to choose somebody that goes above and beyond, what that means is the emotional support, the fact that an investigation is done and is done remarkably well professionally, that the victim actually feels the compassion and shares that with us. So I'm going to give you just a little highlight of the particular award. It occurred in January of this year. Officer Lozano was dispatched to a 911 call where a woman's ex-partner had broken into her residence, sexually assaulted her, held her against her will, and physically assaulted her. Officer Lozano first recognized that she was a Spanish speaker and connected her with a Spanish-speaking officer. Some of the things that he did is he also got a sexual assault counselor for her to sit with her while she disclosed the abuse. He also had her transported to the Keller Center, which is in the next to the emergency room, and the Keller Center also does sexual assaults, so he connected her to that as well. She felt very supported by him, and the final connection that he made was to connect her to Cora so that we could support her and offer her our services. So we're very proud of the work that you did, and we want to recognize you publicly. So here's your flag.
I would like to get a statement from the officer, and I see that there are other officers here. So after he makes the statement, if you can all come up, please, and accept this award with him and share in his glory. And I would like to get a picture. Officer Lozano, please. You have the floor, sir.
I would just like to say thank you very much.
Officer.
And
Closer to the mic so that everybody.
Mike here.
Yeah. There you go.
I would just like to say thank you very much. And, we at the Daly City Police Department really appreciate the partnership with you, Cora, in providing services and resources to the folks in our community that need it the most. So thank you very much.
Okay.
How do you want to stand?
Vice Mayor, you should get Stephen. You should get in, Vice Mayor.
Let's give it.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Yay, thank you.
Wait. Officer Lozano, I'm going to open it up for my council, my colleagues to make any comments if they would like to. I'll first start off on my far right, Councilmember DiGiovanni.
First of all, I know that you guys in the domestic violence have been superior in handling these cases. I've heard it from when the Cora works with Alice Kumares and other victims that we've run into, that it goes unspoken. But for what you did, and when you show compassion like that, Daly City sets themselves apart in our police department. And I've heard it from so many other places that come back here to Daly City to serve as a police officer. We are very humbled to have you here, and you serve our community with honor, and you treat people like your own family. And that's what these officers do at DCPD. I've seen it, I've heard it, I know it to be true. So thank you very much. And there's not enough to say than heartfelt thank you to you and your family, because you all serve. And thank you to these. You see it every day. And I know you're on the ground working, because I've sent people your way. So thank you so much. And thank you, our DCPD.
Thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Just congratulations on your work, and really shows your compassion, and really in such a vulnerable state for this woman, you were able to connect her. And I hear from the organization right away, you went to the steps and went above and beyond. And it's not every day we get to hear what you do on the ground, and to be able to touch the lives of individuals and families, especially as mentioned, in such a vulnerable state. And so thank you for your commitment, and thank you for giving back wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Dr. Rod?
I just want to say thank you, Officer Lozana. I guess sometimes people think that justice happens when an arrest happens, but the real justice happens when the aftermath of that trauma. And I think that's what you provided services for this person, understanding the wellness and the well-being of this person. And that's where justice is not just a singular moment, but it's a process. So I just want to say thank you for all the efforts that you provided.
Thank you, Dr. Rod. Ma'am, where did you serve before?
Redwood City Police Department.
I'd like to thank you, first of all, for your service and all the years that you have provided. If you didn't know, I'm former law enforcement and retired sergeant, San Francisco Police. And just wanted to let you know you still have it, because you're standing there and something was different about you. You're looking, you're multitasking, so.
Shut it down.
Exactly. I know the feeling. Ma'am, I'd like to say thank you so much for what the organization does and the support of Cora. I know in San Francisco we had something, Casa de las Madres, and it's been around for a long time. And I think that paved the way to bring about the awareness of domestic violence and the relationships, and it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing, because there have been so many victims, and now it extends to not just females, but LGBTQ and men as well, and the awareness is very important. Thank you for what you continue to do, and recognizing those who have been gone above and beyond as well. Officer Lozano, I can tell you're very humble, but the type of person who wants to do what is right, and at the same time to protect and to serve, and the rest goes for Daly City PD. We are so happy to have you aboard for this city, and we just know that, and want to let you know, you are amongst the best and the finest. Thank you for what you do, and we need to have more presentations like this in the future. Thank you, Daly City PD, and thank you, Cora, and everyone involved. It's very much appreciated, and keep up the great work. Okay.
We brought some flyers. They are in English, Spanish, Tagalog, and in Mandarin. I'll leave them in the back in case you need one. Pass it along. Like I said, it's a free, confidential hotline number. They can call anonymous, whoever needs support. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, the next item on the agenda is I have Mr. Armando Sanchez, the Executive Director, and he's going to give a presentation on HEART, Housing Endowment and Regional Trust. For those of you in the audience, I don't want to steal no thunder. If I'm starting to steal it, Armando, tell me.
Go right ahead.
Daly City used to be a part of HEART, and we came back.
Right.
And you're here to tell us what has happened since. Okay, so I'll leave it there.
Okay.
So good evening, Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members and City Manager. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. It's very nice to rejoin you. How does this work here? You know, oops. I've had the incredible luck every time I get
It's Murphy's
recently
Law.
that, no, not this. This is always expected of, but rather that I always seem to follow a great person or a great occasion or something, and I'm just like, here I am again following. Okay, sure. Okay, so I just want to tell you very briefly about HEART and then kind of jump into what we do in terms of the programs and accomplishments. And what's really important to me right now is the future of HEART. Go ahead. HEART was established, HEART's mission is to meet the affordable housing needs of the community by raising funds and investing in affordable housing projects. But our board is going to be meeting in the near future, and I certainly hope it can expand substantially beyond this, because our JPA charter gives us the ability to do much, much more than simply raise money and put it into housing, and that's what I'm striving for as the executive director of HEART. As you may or may not know, we were founded in 2003 after the dot-com boom of the early 2000s. We were created as both a joint powers authority and as a 501c3. The reason for that is that it allows us to bring in money from the private sector so that people who make donations, foundations, corporations, anyone who contributes to us gets the tax write-off and the benefit of that, but also as a JPA so that we can access governmental money that would otherwise not be available to us as simply a joint a nonprofit. Go ahead. Our funding source, then, as I mentioned, is private contributions and grants, but it also revenue from the public sector, which is largely the state and our member agency contributions. We right now have about $14 million in assets, and only about $3 million right now is available from our housing trust fund to help affordable housing projects. Separately, we raised $600,000, including from member cities, in order to maintain our operating budget. I'll talk really briefly about our three main programs and then jump into the future. Go ahead. Our main program is the developer loan program. This is where we make loans to developers to help them start affordable housing projects. We have one called a Quick Start, and that is to borrow for up to 5 years. This is a period when a project is more likely to fail and where no other funding sources are available. So it's really critical to come in at that early stage. So once the project is ready to move on to the next stage of construction, there are other entities that could come in and fund the project on a permanent basis. We also have a semi-perm one, and that goes a little bit further to allow projects to stabilize if they need our money for a longer period of time. To date, since our inception, we've loaned about $19 million, and of that, 8.9, almost 9 million has occurred in the last 2 years. So we've really accelerated, partially through our work, and partially it shows you how high construction costs have gone, so that we have to lend out so much money. Of that has resulted in about almost 1,300 homes being constructed and a value of almost $570 million. Our projects, not all of them are there. There's a couple missing, but as you can see, our projects are across the county from the very bottom of East Palo Alto all the way up to Daly City. I can't remember the church. I can't remember the name of the project here. It slips my mind right now. It was way before my time. It was the very first project that HEART ever did. I want to just mention a couple of the brief projects to show you how we can be very effective. This is one of our recent ones. It's Palo Alto Housing Corporation. They're constructing a 67-unit senior housing project in the North Fair Oaks neighborhood. We did a $3.5 million land acquisition loan for them. From the time we heard about this to the date we funded it, it was 3 weeks. The developer had to move extremely quickly to keep this project going and to meet all their closing obligations on the land. So our board was amazing, and in 3 weeks, like I said, from the time we learned about this loan, it went through a loan committee, and we funded the project immediately to keep this project on track. Next one. Another one we're working on right now is the Pacifica School District to help them develop teacher housing, 45, it's employee housing, not just teachers, but we refer to it as teacher housing, and another 25 units that they haven't determined what it'll be. We've provided substantial technical assistance to this project beyond the funding that we've already done. And this is interesting, unlike other projects, there is no other public funding going into this project other than the land. It is going to be paid off through the rents from the units. And I think the last one I want to mention is 353 Main Street, which is also in Redwood City. This was another one that we had to move extremely fast so they could apply for their tax credit. It was another $3.5 million loan. This one's for construction. we're probably saving them over $200,000 by lending it to them for about 2-3 years. So that's a tremendous savings to them, and they really appreciated it because it also gave them the power or the ability to move quickly into the tax credit stage when they applied for them. Go ahead. Let's go past this one more. Right now, we just got another application for Light Tree in East Palo Alto. That's a very $500,000 for rehabilitation of an existing project. They've indicated they'd like to come back for another $2.1 million for construction if we have the money available. I've had a few inquiries from developers in Daly City, but nothing has materialized. But we hope we can do one here soon, and you can be sure that if a project ever comes here, we would check with the city manager, your staff, to make sure that this is a project that the city and the city council supports. We never want to be ahead of any of you in terms of, if a bad project that is not right for the community, we're certainly not going to put money into it until we're sure that the city supports it. We have a first-time homebuyer program that is very important to our middle, what is often referred to as our middle income or our missing middle population, which is professional people who just simply make too much money to receive affordable housing assistance, but way too little to buy a home. Our loan makes it possible for them to buy a home with only 5% down payment. Instead of having to save between or close to $200,000 for a down payment, they can save as little as $60,000, $80,000 and be able to buy a home through our program. Go ahead. We recently had to increase the maximum qualifying income and the purchase price of a home because it used to be $150,000 and $700,000 and something, but we simply, it was becoming ineffective. There were no homes at that price range, and people simply, you need a higher income in order to afford a home. So our board recently increased the limits. So now if you make $170,000, you're eligible, whether you're a one-person household or 5-person household. And the maximum price you can buy is $908, but even there we found it difficult for them to compete, so we allowed people to bid 5% over the cap, an additional $45,000 if it helps them buy the home. Since we started this program in about 2008, we have assisted 88 families and loaned them about $5.85 million. Here's where they bought the homes. As you can see, they tend to be clustered in neighborhoods that are still somewhat affordable in our county. This includes some of the areas in San Mateo County, East Palo Alto, and the northern county, fortunately. Oops, a little too far. Go back up a couple. Go backwards a couple more. One more, I think. Yeah, I just want to show you that this slide shows you the types of occupations of the people we've been able to help recently in the last 2 years. 8 teachers bought home with our programs, 4 in the medical profession, and 4 that are police officers, dispatchers, and city county staff. So this is exactly the population that is suitable for our program. A lot of times we get calls from very low-income people who want to buy a home, and we feel bad, but it's simply not designed to help people at that level because the subsidies would be tremendously high. This is just a very simple tool just to help people get into a program once they have stable jobs. Since the Daly City rejoined we've had 8 workshops, and we have had residents from Daly City attend all of them. So we've been able to provide first-time homebuyer education to 51 city residents and 24 people who live in this city, or who work in the city. We made 3 loans, two to residents who currently lived here, and 1 bought here. I believe 1 bought here. Yeah, I think 1 bought here, and 1 bought in another city, and we had someone from San Francisco buy here in Daly City. So it's a blend. You get people who manage to buy in the city they live in, and sometimes they move to the city, and sometimes they move out depending on their circumstances. But we've made 3 loans so far to people with a relationship with Daly City. That's $292,000 in loans we've made to them. We also received a grant from the California Realtors Association, and we've been able to give some buyers a grant for closing costs of $5,000. I can tell that is tremendously helpful to them because they've scraped everything they had to buy a home, and this grant gives them $5,000 in closing costs that they can probably turn around and save from their own money and use it to make repairs or improvements in their house right away. I'm happy to announce that we have a workshop coming here in Daly City. I've left a couple of flyers with staff. It's going to be this Thursday, June 6th, here in this council chambers. People can register by going to Heart of San Mateo County and following the link to the first-time home buyer program. I left a couple of flyers with staff. I'll leave some for you as well, that advertise the workshop. And I also left some flyers that explain how the program works in more detail. But signups are available, and I'd really encourage people, even if you're not ready to buy, it's always a good opportunity to come and learn about the process. You learn how to put in a bid and what things you need to do to get yourself ready when you're ready to buy a home. Sometimes they don't turn into purchases right away, but at least over time, they have the tools to do that. Go ahead. One last one of our key programs I want to mention is the accessory dwelling unit, which is the granny units. We received the grant from the state to create 4 designs. And the idea behind this is that basically we want to have these 4 designs that people can use and speed up the process, save money hiring an architect, and also get it through city approvals faster. What our hope is that we want to work with the housing departments in each city and have them review the plans to make sure they conform with everything they want. If they're not, if there's improvements that are needed, we will work with our architect to get them to the point where they're ready. And then once we make them available to the public, they will be able to go, they'll have to go through the planning process, approval process like everyone would. But once they get through that, they'll be able to submit the plans to your building department that have been pre-reviewed, not pre-approved, just pre-reviewed, so that hopefully that speeds up the process. They say, okay, we know this one already, we know how that it complies, and they'll be able to issue a permit much faster to save money on that time as well. So we were hoping to make these plans applicable to the entire county, but with so many different regulations and codes, even though we live in the same, we're all in the same state, we had to target it to 4 cities, and we thought the cities that were the most promising in terms of really promoting ADUs, that seemed to have the support of councils and staff, were there were several, but we thought the top ones that would most benefit were Belmont, Redwood City, South San Francisco, and you here in Daly City. So we're specifically going to be designing them so that they comply with your building department's zoning or building codes. Go ahead. So the last thing I want to mention is that I'm working with the board right now. We're going to have a retreat and talk about what HEART can do in the future to become a more effective member in helping cities construct housing. Right now, we have a contract with the city of East Palo Alto to help their staff with some housing policy work. We want to be available to your staff for simple questions, whether it would be like, how do you do something, or who can help us with this, all the way to providing more technical assistance for smaller cities who don't have a housing staff really. So we want to be able to do more for our city members. Once we complete our plans, if we find that people like the plans and are using them, we'd like to do construction loans, so that right now, if you want to build an ADU, you go to a bank, they say, well, refinance or take out a line of equity. They won't lend you money just to construct it. So what we'd like to do is perhaps create a loan product so that they can construct it, and once it's built, then they can go back to the bank and get a much better loan because their property will be worth so much more. So, you know, I hope we can move in that direction. We're looking at an interesting model on affordable housing preservation. I think we've all heard the horror stories where somebody buys a big apartment building and kicks everybody out and puts paint on it and raises the rent. We're looking at a process where it may be possible to issue bonds in order to buy these units and to stabilize it, and then over time make it more affordable. Not a tax credit model, which is much too expensive, but a different model that could take the project out of the private realm, and put it in the public realm where it is better managed in the long run. I'll skip the SB2, that's a little technical, but one of the things that's coming up is Proposition 1 veterans. As you recall, Affordable Housing Act, as you recall, the state recently passed, I think it was 300, I can't remember how many millions. They're making some money available specifically for housing trust funds like ours. And I hope to be applying for $5 million to bring it into our county to help not just new developments, but potentially other types of housing projects, whether it be something for a shelter expansion like Cora, or a homeless, purchasing a motel to help a homeless provider transition people into permanent housing. So we're going to try to have a really creative application that goes beyond the simple tax credit affordable housing model, but we'll always do that since that's one of our core missions. So I think that's it. Thank you again so much. I can't express to you how happy everyone I talk to is that Daly City is a member of HEART again. Our ability to work here, there's great opportunities, and it's just very promising, and it's really a pleasure to be back here. Oh, one last thing. I remember it was really important for us to do outreach to the non-English speaking community, and we're trying. Bureaucracy is amazing. We started working with the Latino realtors to translate some of our materials, and they came back. We went to the bank, and they said, no, our attorneys have to review this because there's a lot of legal liability. So, we kind of hit roadblocks because of legalese and liability, but we want to continue to do that, and we're trying to do all our information first, but that's not working as well because of this roadblock. So we're going to switch maybe to do the marketing a little bit more. But I want you to know we're trying. We're going to continue to work with them to make sure that the outreach to non-English speakers is there. So thank you again very much. If you have any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them now, or you can contact me later.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. I'll open it up to any of my council members if they want to make any comments or thoughts or questions for Mr. Sanchez. Anyone? Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to thank you because as the vice mayor has spoke, he's our representative proudly, and that really pushes for the affordability, especially with the teachers and all the different things that are going on. And I was going to ask you, when you said the Prop 1, is that the same thing that Fiona Ma was working on about the veterans from the state treasurer as well?
No,
That money?
No, this was it was called Proposition 1. It was last election.
Right, that was that one. But I mean, I know there's some money
Yeah.
that she's also helping veterans
Yeah,
so
yeah.
well, so appreciate that as well. And thank you for looking out for Daly City. We really appreciate it, because I know you're pushing hard for the languages.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Thank you.
Councilmember Manalo?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm just really happy to see that there's actually a workshop in Daly City. I know that, you're trying to be part of our Daly City, be part of HEART again, but one of the key things is ensuring that there was accessibility to the residents in our community, and seeing this come into fruition, I'm happy to see that happen, and seeing that the program is helping residents and employees in our city. So it's a complicated issue around affordable housing, but this is a key piece that helps the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Dr. Rod, anything?
I just want to echo my fellow council members in terms of providing services and assistance for providing some sort of affordable housing for our communities, knowing that we're not a housing crisis. I think any type of services or anything that can provide communities to stay in, people that have grown up here to stay intact and live where they grew up is a plus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rod. Mr. Sanchez, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
I remember last year when I was chosen to be a representative for Daly City on your board. Believe me, it didn't stop there, because before I got there, I was at home doing some calculations, and I was saying to myself, well, if the maximum was $150,000, you can only afford a house of this much. And that really perplexed me. And I am so happy that the board got together based upon information, and they raised the limits to $906,000 and the income of $170,000. That's very progressive thinking. I think I read something, was it $117,000 is the minimum income needed to buy a home? That's considered low income now. Wow. And San Jose is even worse. But it's tough, and the population and the folks trying to start a family, the all-American dream is to own your own place, and it's very tough, but this gives them a mechanism to get started. So thank you so much for what you do. I'd like to let everyone know I've been a part and I like your ideas, and that's why we keep you. But Mr. Sanchez, thank you so much, and we look forward to your workshop coming June 6th. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right. Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Manalo.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Di Giovanni. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes have passed. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Motion by Councilmember Manalo,
Second.
second by Dr. Rod. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everybody said aye. Okay, thank you. The agenda has been approved. The next item is the consent agenda. And I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda, or if anybody wants to pull anything, please advise.
So moved to accept the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Manalo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Di Giovanni. All those in favor in approving the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The consent calendar has been adopted, approved. All right, next we move on to item number 6, which is the General Plan Amendment, GPA 1-19-13827, Zone Change. Zebra Charles -1-19-13828, Use Permit, UPR -1-19-13830. And Mr. Palin, welcome.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. The next item before you this evening is the Habitat for Humanity Geneva Townhomes located at 3001 Geneva Avenue. The applicant is requesting a general plan amendment for from residential medium low density to residential medium density and rezoning from unzoned to R3 multiple family residential in order to allow the construction of 6 townhouse-style units. Additionally, the applicant is requesting an airspace subdivision for 6 condominium units and design review approval for the overall building. The subject property is located at the northeast corner of Geneva Avenue and Schwerin Street. This is a view from the intersection of Geneva Avenue and Schwerin Street looking northeast. This is the existing homes which are immediately to the east of the subject site. And this is a view of the market that is located to the north of the subject site or behind the proposed building. The proposed 11,017 square foot building will contain 6 townhouse-style units. Each unit will contain 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, and a 1-car garage with approximately 1,830 square feet of living space. The building itself will be 3 stories and set back 1 foot from the Geneva Avenue property line, following the predominant setback for that neighborhood. This is a perspective view from Geneva Avenue looking northeast. Here you see the Geneva Avenue and Schwerin Street elevations. The project features high-quality materials such as lap siding with extensive trim around the windows, between floors, and at building corners. Large second-floor windows would be double-hung and accentuated with corbels and trellis structures. All garage doors would be recessed for de-accentuation and embellished visually also through the use of corbels and overhead trellises at the sidewalk level. Staff has completed an initial study and has determined that the project would not have a significant impact on the environment. Adoption of a negative declaration is therefore an appropriate level of review under the California Environmental Quality Act. Staff finds that the project is compatible with the proposed amended general plan and the regulations of the multiple family residential district. The design is compatible and complementary to the existing neighborhood. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the general plan amendment, zone change, use permit, major subdivision, and design review based on the findings and conditions outlined in the staff report. This completes staff's presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Palin. Do I have any questions from any of my council members? We'll start with Dr. Rod this time.
I don't have any questions at the time.
Okay, thank you. We'll work backwards. Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you very much. I noticed that, are any of the plans and, for instance, I see that is there any street widening that's happening with the project? I see the proposal of, just looking around the area, I see the proposal of trees. Is that part of their project as well?
Correct, yes. Then they've been working with Public Works to follow the program for that neighborhood to make upgrades that's going to include street plantings.
And then, are they also providing a bulb out, or is that already there? And this is that a bulb out? At the corner?
Yeah, right at the corner.
Yes, they are.
They are?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm just looking at, this is the first time I'm seeing the
Okay.
project, so I'm looking at all of the, well, for me, I think it's important that it's 100% affordable housing. So I'm a proponent that, in this stage and age of the crisis, as mentioned by my colleagues, we need more affordable housing. Habitat for Humanity has provided projects in Daly City, and they've been a great partner. So seeing something of this size as well, every unit counts. And for me, it's now looking at kind of the design of the project, and I'm noticing that, it's a thoughtful project, and that's why I asked. They provided trees along that area. We've seen the area within Geneva, and it's very urbanized, and seeing that they proposed trees, and also, is that right, Michael, that they're providing a bulb out as well?
The bulb out is existing.
Oh, it's existing. Okay, so it's existing. Well, that's on Daly City. Thank you. But that's, and I guess the question, I know this is for the design, is Habitat for Humanity here?
Yes, yes.
Just around the programming of, do they already know what the programming is and the depth of affordability?
Where are they?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll have a few remarks later, but to answer your question, the programming, Habitat tries to target what we refer to as the missing middle, 60 to 80% of AMI.
What's the percentage?
A lot of it,
60 to 80.
a lot of that depends on where the project ends up. We also, part of our funding stack comes from public funds, as well as private donations and internal capital. And so the program is really The affordability level is reflective of how successful we are in raising funding for the project, particularly public funding for the project. So those are targets. And, hopefully the project will average around 80% AMI. But we can certainly come back at a later date and share that with you, where we end up.
Thank you. So your target is about 60 to 80%. And then, you need to still raise funding for the project, as you mentioned.
Correct.
And usually the average is 80% AMI.
Correct.
Okay. So how much have you raised for the project?
I don't have, I didn't bring those numbers with me.
Okay.
I believe the city, I'm relatively new to Habitat, I believe the city assisted in the purchase of the property through a loan. And we've had one other grant, and we'll be applying another grant. We'll be applying for Prop 1 money. We'll be applying for some community development block grant money as well. And we typically apply to cities if they have inclusionary fees that are available. We would apply for those as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And so, given that, is there a threshold or whatnot around affordability? I know the target is 60 to 80, but does it, with this project, since it's their project, if it exceeds higher than a certain threshold, that's not in our jurisdiction. I'm just wondering, it doesn't ever, your goal is, of course, to have affordable housing for the community. I know you're mission driven. I'm just wondering, would we get an update from your organization to find out where you're at as you proceed with your fundraising efforts?
Oh, absolutely. And we'll be working with the city.
Okay.
We have been working with the city already, and we will continue to work with the city with the housing group. It's all out on the table. A lot of the funding that we receive has affordability requirements built into it. So the more public funding we get, the more that the AMI is controlled. And typically that's at an 80%. That's why we typically end up at about 80% AMI. And I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name's Peter Dunn. I'm the Vice President of Real Estate for Habitat for Humanity Greater San Francisco.
Oh, great.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think, good. Councilmember DiGiovanni.
I just have a quick question. You probably don't even need to answer it. I was looking over here, and I did see the garages, because I know that we had received some letters, people were concerned about the parking, but I see that you do provide 2 garages per,
Yeah, the project, every house has a garage
Wow.
that fits one car.
That's good.
each. So
Okay,
it's
what's one-
one car per unit, and then there are, or one car per home, and there are 4 street parking spaces around the curb.
oh, that's great, because I know that you did a really good job on the one that we currently have, that large one with the solar
Right.
on top. That was excellent. And that people maintained and kept it aesthetically clean, and it was great. And it addresses our lower income, especially in the Bay Shore, in that area. So it could use a boost up, so.
Thank you.
Which is great. Thank you for being here, and thank you for what you do. Habitat for Humanity's been great.
Thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni. I have a few questions. I see by the plans, would you kindly confirm that these are all going to be 3 bedrooms, 1 bath unit?
I believe there were,
Page 2.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the plans.
each unit will be 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms.
1 and, oh, I see the half. Okay, got it. And 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths. And I see a density bonus has been requested, which includes one parking spot for 1,800 square feet, with the exception of the corner three-story is 1827. So per our planning code, 1,800 square feet is one parking spot defined, and that's enough?
No, the applicant is asking for a parking concession based on the fact that they are providing low-income housing, and that has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they recommended approving the parking concession.
Okay, I didn't see any comments from our Planning Commission. Did anybody not have any comments? I didn't see that in the staff report for tonight. Were there any comments
The
from-
Planning Commission, when they reviewed this, did not have any comments. They were in support of the project as
Okay.
proposed.
Okay, so I got 3 bedrooms for each unit. That's a total of 18 bedrooms, and 6 divided by 2, 9 bathrooms. Any estimation as to how, I'm sure there'll probably be no occupancy limits in each one of these homes. In other words, we can't restrict a homeowner from saying, you got 3 bedrooms and the most you can have living here is 6.
Not beyond what is defined in the California Residential Building Code. It's
And-
not something that the planning zoning ordinance for the city of Daly City speaks to, but the building code
Sure.
does.
Okay, thank you for that. See, my concern is, with so many bedrooms and the higher density, that, don't get me wrong, we need affordable housing, and humanity has really done a lot for us over the years, but I'm also concerned about the neighborhood. If I look at your plans, there are some nearby homes right next to it. If I'm not mistaken, those homes are probably 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, but they have tandem parking, which holds 2 cars. Did anybody ever look at any of those homes there to see if they had tandem parking? Because here we're looking at almost, not exactly doubling the square feet, but 1,800 square feet, and to reduce it, to request a density bonus because it's low income, and to say we can only give you one, we'll give you 1 parking spot, it really doesn't sit well with me. So, I mean, any additional information from the homes next door or in the neighborhood as to how many parking spots they hold?
I can't answer to whether or not they have a tandem garage or not. The City of Daly City zoning ordinance does allow, and a lot of homeowners have done this. It does allow, even if the home requires per its habitable square footage 2 parking spaces, we per the city council's direction, we allow them to use the rear half of the tandem 2-car garage as living space in order to prevent them from expanding the envelope of the house further. So in a lot of cases where you have an original tandem 2-car garage, the rear half of that tandem garage is converted to living space and allowable per our zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That's good to know, but at the same time, I also know for a fact that folks don't use their garage and subsequently park in the front or across the street and increase the congestion. It's not to say that the owners of these units will, I mean, we can't enforce forcing someone to use their garage, but I'm just thinking of the congestion that's going to come by later. and if we're only giving one parking spot, I have a concern with that. I heard that there's going to be 4 street parking in the front, but if it's street parking, that's public right-of-way. Anybody can park there. So that's basically not a, it's not a concession in the sense that 4 will be available, but that's open to anyone. Thank you for that. All right, is there any other comments?
So in essence, you only get one, is that correct, Vice Mayor? One parking spot per unit?
1 parking spot for 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 1,800 square feet. It's almost, that's slightly smaller than my house. And I got 4 parking spots. Okay, any other comments?
I have one other question.
Yes.
So, Habitat for Humanity, this project is for ownership or rental?
This will be for ownership, first-time homebuyers.
First time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Palin. Habitat of Humanity, thank you so much for being here. At this particular time, I would like to open this to the public, and I don't have any cards on this particular item, so seeing, no, it's not too late, ma'am.
I'm here to speak for Eastmore, but now that I've heard his presentation.
I'm sorry?
I'm here to speak on Eastmore, but I'd like to.
Eastmore?
Yeah, that's number 8.
Okay, well.
But I'd like to just make a comment to your comment, if I can.
Yes.
Can I do another card then?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, do
Just for the
another card.
record's
All
sake,
right.
please.
My name is Marion Saki,
Okay.
and I live on 55 Zeta Manor. And I'd like to follow up on your comment in that it's 1.5 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, 1 parking space, and we've already brought up parking is a premium in every neighborhood, in every city. And I'd like to know what this council and what Habitat can do. If you raise this question, is that adequate parking? What's the follow-up on that? Do we demand for you to review the plans to increase parking? Or do we just let it sit and let them get away with 1 parking space for 3 bedrooms and 1.5 bath? That's my question to this council. Where do we go from your comment? Do we expand and ask for more parking, or do we let this go through? Or not me, but you all.
It's our decision.
Okay.
Does somebody have an answer? Do we have more meetings, or is this plan said, no one has any comments from the planning community, everybody accepts this, then you bring up not enough parking spaces, so I'm bringing it up too. I have a concern, because that's coming up on mine on Eastmore. So,
All right.
is that accepting, or do we go on with it?
Basically, we're taking comments at this time,
Okay.
and I
That's my
thank you
comment.
for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, then, Mr. Longhausen. Yes.
Vice Mayor, members of the council, the state's density bonus law is specifically set up to provide for concessions for developers of affordable housing developments such as this. If this project was to provide all of the code required number of parking spaces, the number of units would be at least cut in half.
Yeah.
So we'd be looking at least half the number of units. There's a very specific purpose in the laws that the state of California set up to allow for projects like this to advance forward without meeting all of the regulations that the city has in place. And so that's the purpose of that law.
Thank you, Mr. Longhausen.
Thank you.
Any other further comments from the public? You got one more? Okay, this is item number 6, folks. If anyone else would like to speak to item number 6, please give us a card. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a Graciela, and is it Ms. Graciela?
Yes.
Yes, and you like to speak on this item, number 6?
Yes.
Okay, number 6. And I'll need your last name, ma'am.
Ramirez,
R-A,
Ramirez.
oh, Ramirez, thank you. Oh, sure, you have 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Graciela Ramirez, and I come in about the planning for Geneva and Sweden. Sorry, but my English is not too good, but I try. And the problem, I live in McDonald Avenue, between Schwerin. Then I see the problem. Right now, we don't have any more parking. Too many people is coming to live there. I see many people I don't see before. And it's right what you say about people leave their parking in the house and then bring the cars on the street. So my neighbors, the same problem, because I went to talk with them about this letter I received, and then they say the same problem about parking. So that's why I'm not agree for this project. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, you gave me 2 cards, right? All right, I have 2 more cards here, but they're not on this. Oh, and number 6, got it. Ms. Marion Seki, you just spoke. Okay. Oh. Yeah, put my glasses on. Miss Sally?
Yes.
And your last name, Sally?
YP.
Oh, Miss Yep, okay, and item number 6. Yes,
Yeah, actually, I also live in Geneva and Swan, just to show it on your map here. So I bought this house 3 years before. I see a big change around the area, especially the school next to us. When I bought it, it didn't have, when I bought it, I didn't know the school have totally remodeled. So it have a lots of issue with different environmental issue. They changed all the layout. And then we now have some kind of leaking issue from the school because the setup for the development is not as good as I think. I have no way to say any voice because by the time they have this kind of meeting, I wasn't not the owner yet. But now I am, so I think it's more important for me to get involved to know more and say more what I can feel like. Recently, with this area, there's a lot of changing. On Geneva, there's a dancing school. They open Monday and Thursday and weekend. They dance a lot, have a lot of noise. All the students, they park on the Swarren because on the outside is pretty much as a long curve. People can park pretty easy. At the same time, I do see a lot of VA parking right now. People park it as living. So it's become like more packed. Also, at the same time, there's a lot of crimes activity. All the windows get broken. Always people ask, can I see your camera and you see the evidence, accidents, things like that. So for us, I think it's already not too safe, and if we put more new cars, people park on this side, it will be the possible chance. Because on McDonald's side, there's not much parking, as the ladies say. But more on Geneva and also on Swarren, there's lots of parking areas possible, and the closer area, they will come to park. And with more traffic, that's what I'm concerned.
thank you, Ms. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, I don't have any other cards at this time. I would request a motion to close the public hearing on item number 6.
Motion to close?
You have a first?
Second.
Second. All right. Before we adopt the resolution, is this okay if I'm following protocol, Madam City Attorney? I get final comments from my colleagues before we decide to adopt the resolution? Okay, so if my colleagues have any other further questions, either for staff or thoughts that they may have, you're more than welcome to please tell us at this time. Councilmember DG.
Because I went first last time.
Dr. Rod Dasmakbawal.
Yeah. I think housing is a hardcore need here in the Bay Area, especially folks that are trying to establish families. I'm an example of a case of starting our own family, trying to, establish roots here. And I understand that parking is an issue and land is an issue in Daly City. Unless we start making a parking garage somewhere, I don't think anything will be resolved. And I'm not saying like a parking garage will be the right way, but knowing that the streets is a public right-of-way, and there's a need for parking, I think we need to come up with a creative solution of understanding how to go about parking. And I know that we're going to be having future discussions about that. So it's not going to be left unaddressed. There will be future discussions on this. And not everybody's going to be happy with this. But one thing about being in a community is being able to live with each other and being able to discussion and have dialogue. So I'm all support of that.
Thank you, Councilmember Dr. Rod. Councilmember DeGiovanni.
Yeah, I think that with my fellow colleague, that to be able to get a low income, what is considered low income, 100% affordable housing, you don't get that. And it's only Habitat for Humanity's yearly, and probably a couple other projects that we've had have been 100%. And that is the law that they are given that, so that they give the incentive so that no one wants to do that. They want to sell the $1 million homes because it's not an incentive, because they're going to make the money off the $1 million. This is a project that it's not $1 million that somebody's really going to make. It's a project that really the charity, if people that are familiar with Habitat for Humanity, that they raise the funds to do this in communities that are underserved. And we know our Bay Shore is underserved. And we're trying to make sure that they get noticed and have roofs over their head, because some of them right now are really looking at, I know some people that have children and they might have to move out of the area. And I know it was with the school, things got complicated, and the school was in a need in that area. And hopefully things will settle down. And we are going to be addressing parking in the city. It's not going to be an easy issue. We are going to have a parking summit, and we actually have our city manager and other people working on some other things. And we're not sure what's going to come up, but people will participate. If you don't think we understand it, we understand it. We also understand that we do have families that go to those schools and they don't have a roof. They have a housing insecurity, that the rent's going to go up $1,000, which it did for one family, and they had to move out. So with that, we have to think about that, and we will be addressing everyone's issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DeGiovanni. Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. There is a need for housing, and I hear the people that are talking about access to more parking, right? This is not only in your neighborhood, it's in, we're a dense city. And so, as mentioned by my colleagues, we are gonna try to see if there are solutions together. And down the line in the summer, we will have, as mentioned, a parking summit where we'd love to hear people's ideas as well, to try to solve for something that is not only in the neighborhood in the Bay Shore, but it's in other areas as well. It is rare to find a 100% affordable housing project. And for me, I think one concern I'd like to bring up, and hopefully can work with Habitat for Humanity, is if there could be a priority or preference for Daly City residents, because this is an ownership opportunity.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that we're hearing that, there's people that are growing up in the city of Daly City, and they can't afford to stay in the communities that they've been growing up in. And if they're being priced out because of, rents are going higher, or they can't afford, buying their own homes, this is an opportunity right here where families and growing families are able to remain in their home, in their city that they grew up in. So for me, I'd like to see if there was a way to work with Habitat for Humanity in partnership to have a preference or prioritize Daly City residents. But that's what my request is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Mr. Longhausen, you had made mention that because of the density bonus and it enables this project, what if it wasn't 3 stories, it was 2 stories? Could that still work?
Well, that would significantly impact the usability of the unit.
That's what I thought. Okay. And for a question for the city attorney, is this redevelopment land?
This is our former redevelopment parcel.
All right, and one more question. We received a letter. Would this project, if we had requested an EIR, could that be done?
There would have to be significant environmental impacts that were identified in the initial study that was prepared by the planning division, and the planning division found no significant impacts.
Thank you. To my colleagues and the public, this is a very tough call for me personally, because I try to see both sides of the coin here. And you've heard it, and I've seen it. Daly City has a parking problem, but we are going to address that parking problem. And the main idea, the purpose here, number one, is a prior redevelopment land. That means redevelopment means it has to have housing. True, you might say, well, it doesn't have to be that many units, but at the same time, the affordability is very, very important. For Daly City to give preference to only those living in Daly City, and I heard ownership per se, if I'm not mistaken, for real estate law, you cannot prevent anyone from purchasing a home, and you cannot limit to only one certain group or residence. Is that correct? Real estate. Habitat for Humanity, and if this is going to be affordable, you will determine affordability based upon those who apply and see if they meet the criteria, whether you're going to do it by lottery. But if someone from San Francisco comes in and say wins and they meet the criteria for AMI, do they get preference to buy the home over a Daly City resident who wants to buy a home?
We need to meet the fair housing laws.
That's what I thought.
So,
And the fair housing laws dictate that you cannot discriminate based upon race, color, creed, sex, origin, and
that's correct. I mean, we'll work with the city's housing group, Betsy Zobel, and on an affordable housing agreement and our program. And so we will work with the city on, we have a defined program, and we work with cities and we try to modify it to the extent that we can and still stay within our mission to meet the needs of the city. We won't be advertising this project everywhere. Our advertising will be focused here. And so, it'll be unlikely that we'll see people applying from other parts of the Bay Area. Maybe if they work here and they've heard about the project, They might apply if they live here. They would certainly, I would certainly expect them to apply. So, we're not advertising this project in San Francisco. We're not advertising it in San Mateo. We're advertising it in Daly City and in this immediate area. So that helps. It sort of narrows the applications to the local market.
That's a good answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I do have a few other comments when it's appropriate.
Oh, well, we're about to decide and do a roll call on this resolution, so if you want to make your final comments, please do.
I'll make one comment on the parking. I think a lot's been said about it, and I certainly hear the concerns of the neighborhood. Our mission is to provide affordable housing, and we do that through applications of things like the state density bonus law, et cetera, as it has been explained. One difference on this project versus the surrounding area is this is a condominium, and there will be CC&Rs, and we will have a requirement in our CC&Rs that the garages must be maintained so that they're available to park cars in them.
Oh, there you go.
So there will be 6 parking spaces inside this building, and the HOA management will be maintaining that. And we have a condition here that the city will be reviewing our conditions of approval, and so they'll be able to verify that. But I guess turning to a little business, there are 3 conditions of approval that I have a little bit of concern over in maintaining the viability of the project. We've worked with staff a little bit on it, but I think there's still some lack of clarity, I guess. Conditions 21 and 22 refer to whether the project will comply with Chapter 11B or Chapter 11A of California Building Code. And those have to do with the accessibility of the units within the building. This project has been designed to meet Chapter 11A. The confusion that I see in these conditions is that Condition 21 reads, building design shall conform with accessibility requirement per 11B when public funding is used to construct the building. We are going to be using public funding, but we understand this code to read that the building has to comply with 11B if it's considered public housing, not public funding. And there's a big difference there. And so rather than getting into the nuance of how the code is written, I would suggest that these 2 conditions be struck, because we are required to abide by the California Building Code anyway. So we're going to go out, we're going to get our funding, and the project is what it is, and we will have to meet the code that applies to us. These 2 conditions, I think, just confuse the matter. And if someone were to interpret 21 to say that if we go get a community development block grant, which is HUD money, and well, maybe that's not a good example. If we go get state money, which we will, we could be required to comply with 11B, in which case we'll lose a unit in this building because we can't meet 11B in the configuration. We meet 11A, which is a adaptability requirement. So my request is that these 2 conditions be dropped and that we simply conform to the California Building Code. The other concern I have is condition number 36, which states that the project's electrical transformer shall not be installed within the public right-of-way. We've consulted with our PG&E experts, and we do not have a place within our project site to place a transformer outside of the public right-of-way. Typically, transformers get placed in underground vaults in the sidewalk. And so it's just a smooth, flat surface, walk across it, drive across it, they're traffic rated. It's typical practice most everywhere. So if we're required to, if we find that we have to place a transformer within the private property, we're going to lose a unit. And that will make the project infeasible. So what I would request is that this condition be very simply modified to state that the project's electrical transformer shall not be installed within the public right-of-way unless there is no other option, and at which point that transformer will be installed in an underground vault. So, other than that, thank you very much for your consideration, and staff's been wonderful to work with, very responsive, and we're very much looking forward to getting some building plans into the building department and getting a permit and breaking ground, hopefully in September of this year.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask staff,
Please.
has this information been made available to staff for planning? And if so, has there been any decision? Or is this the first that staff is hearing about this today? And if so, I'm wondering why it's coming before the council.
So with regard to the
11.
the condition regarding the transformers, they have been working with planning and engineering staff about modifying that condition and/or eliminating the requirement. So my understanding was that there was,
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I may. Yeah, typically, in terms of these private development projects, staff has been fairly consistent in regards to the requirement that if a transformer is for the private development and for private use, that it be located on private property. We've been fairly consistent with other projects as well. And so the issue is in terms of taking up public space for private use, whether it's above ground or underground. The city's public right-of-way is already very congested in regards to all the different utilities that we have. And so the requirement for private infrastructure that only supports the private development, that be accommodated on private property. We have been working with the developer in regards to the requirement for utility undergrounding. And we did work something out there in regards to the practical ability to underground, and we've seen some information from PG&E, and so we have worked with the applicant in terms of not requiring the undergrounding within the property that we typically would for subdivisions. But the transformer was something that we wanted to remain consistent on.
Thank you, Mr. Chu.
and may I respond to the other
Well,
one?
11A and 11B?
Yeah, that's unfortunately a building code issue, so I wasn't made aware of that before this evening, that there was an issue with that, and that would be something that would need to be addressed by our building official.
So, please correct me if I'm wrong. You're asking council to adopt a resolution that states it's going to be 6 units, which consist of 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, each one. And I also hear this evening that it may lose a unit because of discrepancy on where we're going to place the power unit. And then we have to get more information on the conditions pertaining to 11A and 11B, which is a building code issue, to which, please help me, what are we looking for council tonight to do? Ms. Mothershead, please.
I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Public Works Department and the condition regarding the transformer, but I will speak on behalf of the Building Division.
the code is the code, that is the truth. So oftentimes, the conditions of approval also sort of act as comments on the plans that were submitted. At the end of the day, they have to comply with the building code. And so I think what we could take it to mean is that there's a point of clarification and discussion that needs to happen through the plan review process. And so I think it may be okay to take those conditions out, but I would remind the applicant that they are sort of on notice that there is the need to clarify and make a distinction between publicly funded and not. So I think in that case, that's fine, but I'm going to defer to the Public Works Department on their condition of approval.
Thank you, Ms. Mothershead. Madam City Attorney?
If I may, this is more of a general, rather than strike out the building code conditions. I do have a language suggestion which might be in a broader nature without striking it out.
Okay.
And I could read it through the chair if you'd like, just so that you can hear it, okay? So for conditions 21 and 22, I would suggest to say building design shall conform to applicable building codes for accessibility. So if in fact that there are codes that are applicable to a particular comment, this would bound them to say they shall conform to that, rather than just take it out completely. I would suggest to have some express language that they would comply with the applicable building codes for accessibility, and that would be broad enough.
So could this be placed as a condition?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Rather than strike 21 and 22.
11A.
I'm sorry, 21 and 20. The suggestion is to strike 21 and 22. Through the chair, I would suggest that we strike that and include the general language about the building code.
Well, that was through the chair.
Yes, it's through the chair. It's through.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further comments by my colleagues at this time before we move on? Hearing none?
One quick question. Is that including the 36 that he mentioned?
I'm not speaking to chair.
Oh, 36 goes to, it's applicable to Mr. Chu, right?
I think it will contain.
Okay.
Well, if we do approve this, and if it doesn't work out and we end up losing a unit, then I guess the developer will decide whether it's feasible to continue with the project or just discontinue it. That's my thought. Oh, yes, sir.
If I may, we would, we submitted a letter to staff on May 7th, and it references some of our concerns with the conditions. Staff has worked with us and resolved all of them except for the ones that I've mentioned this evening. In that letter, we stated that at that time it was listed as condition number 41. I think it's 36 now. But we stated that Habitat objects to this condition about restricting placement of the transformers in the right-of-way. While the intent of the project is to serve the property from the existing facility to the rear, we need to preserve the option of placing a subsurface transformer in a vault at the front of the project in the sidewalk area of the public right-of-way, requiring a transformer to be installed on private property if deemed necessary by PG&E could reduce the number of units in the project. So that was in the letter. I would say that this is a PG&E transformer if it needs to be provided. And so it's not a private transformer. It belongs to PG&E and it can serve other facilities beyond just our project. So to me, that defines it as a public facility. And I would also submit that under the density bonus law, we're entitled to up to 3 concessions. And so we would add that this be considered as an additional concession for our application, that if necessary, that the transformer be allowed to be placed in the public right-of-way. It's our intent not to lose a unit on this project. That may result in the loss of all 6 units. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we can go on back and forth all night, but we're going to have to make a decision on this project, and what comes down the road, whether it has to come back before council to include any modification thereof, then it shall happen. But we need to, I'd rather make a decision on this rather than to hold this up, because you're intending on doing this in September, but that would be incumbent upon you and to work with staff, and let's see if we can come up with some sort of an agreement. Okay, are there any other comments?
That would be put in the conditions, Vice Mayor.
We have the conditions, I think it was item number 22, you made mention, and 20,
Through the chair, 21 and 22, I would suggest to add the language about the building design shall conform to applicable building codes for accessibility.
okay. And as for the other items, that will come, they will stand as is,
That's my
based
understanding.
upon what happens later on through the process. But we do have the concerns and comments made by a developer for the record.
That's correct.
Okay, Councilmember DiGiovanni.
No, I just want to make sure that it's very clear. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for clarifying.
All right, I've just scrolled down, way down to the bottom of this document, so, the next, we're gonna have to, number 6. All right, so, I'll accept a resolution, adopt a resolution. This is to adopt, and it will be by roll call.
Right, so a motion on the floor through the chair with the amendment to the conditions is on the floor for a motion.
Okay, roll call, please. Thank you,
Do we have a
ma'am.
second?
Second.
That's through the
Oh,
chair.
do we still have to make the motion? even-
Yes, you have to
Oh,
make
okay,
the motion.
okay. So we have a first by, is it DiGiovanni, and second by Councilmember Manalo. Roll call, please.
I guess,
Now-
I didn't say
now-
anything, but
Ms. DiGiovanni,
aye.
Ms. Manalo,
Aye.
Dr. Rod,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester.
Aye.
And then we do have an ordinance for a motion for the city attorney to read by title only.
I would entertain a motion for the city attorney to read by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor and members of the council. This is an ordinance of the city of Daly City, amending Daly City zoning map, rezoning existing .14 acre site located at 3001 Geneva Avenue from unzoned to multifamily R3.
And I'll entertain a council member to introduce the ordinance. Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. At this point, recommend to introduce the ordinance of the general plan amendment to GPA-1-19-13-13827 zone change ZZ-1-19-13-13828 use permit UPR-1-19-13830 major subdivision sub-1-19-13832 and design review DR-1-19-13833 for the construction of 6 townhomes at 3001 Geneva Avenue.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. All right, moving on to the next item, item number 7, the general plan amendment, GPA-3-19-13-13911, and design review, DR-6-18-13530, construction of 4 single-family homes at 717 Templeton Avenue. And this is item number 7. Mr. Palin.
Thank you. The next item before you this evening is Templeton Homes, located at 717 Templeton Avenue. In 1994, a number of properties in the city were rezoned. The subject property was rezoned by the city of Daly City from multiple family to single family. Yet, the general plan designation of open space was not updated at the same time. The applicant and the city are requesting a general plan amendment from open space preservation to residential low density in order to allow the construction of 4 single-family homes. Since the parcels are already zoned single-family, no rezoning is required. The subject property is located on the south side of Templeton Avenue. This slide shows an aerial photo. The grassy area is the project site. Another site photo, this is taken from Templeton Avenue looking at the south side of the street where the proposed houses would be developed. Same location, but from a different angle. And this is existing development on the south side of the street, just to the west of the subject site. These are properties on the north side of Templeton Avenue. The 4 lots range in size from approximately 3,200 square feet to 4,500 square feet. Each home will be set back a minimum of 11 feet from the front, meeting the predominant setback requirement, and 5 feet from the left side property lines. The front yards will include a 2-car wide driveway to access the 2-car side-by-side garage and a 3-foot pedestrian access to the front entry. The remainder of the front yard area will be landscaped. The first floor contains an entry foyer, a bedroom with bathroom, and a 2-car side-by-side garage. The second floors contain a living room, a powder room, kitchen, and dining areas. The third floor consists of a master bedroom with en-suite bathroom, 2 additional bedrooms, and a bathroom. The proposed homes provide a recess at the 3rd floor of the building's front elevation, provide a recessed garage door and pedestrian entrance, and the architectural materials and details are replicated from the front facade onto the visible sidewalls of the building. The homes provide a combination of stucco and horizontal wood siding, altering between floors, which serves to visually distinguish the pedestrian and main living levels while de-emphasizing the 3rd floor. Neighbors on the north side of Templeton Avenue have expressed concerns regarding the development, including reduced off-street parking where parking is already limited, limited visibility for cars backing out of steep driveways onto a curved and sloped street, potential structural impacts to homes resulting from heavy equipment used during construction and grading, and increased traffic on Templeton once the homes are occupied. Staff has completed an initial study and has determined that the project would not have a significant impact on the environment. Adoption of a negative declaration is therefore an appropriate level of review under the California Environmental Quality Act. Staff finds that the proposed use is compatible with the general plan and zoning regulations of the single-family residential district, and that the design is compatible and complementary to the existing neighborhood. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the general plan amendment, design review, negative declaration based on the findings and conditions outlined in the staff report. This completes staff's presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Palin. Any questions for Mr. Palin, staff, by any one of my colleagues? Anyone? All right, I'd like to open it up to, need a motion to open up to public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
The first, second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first, second. All right. I have one card on this matter, and it's a Gino Castoro. Mr. Castoro?
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, yeah, thank you. So I've lived up there for 40 years on the north side. You didn't really get a very good picture of the houses across the street, and particularly the steepness of the street. But that hill, that little piece of land there is a little historical significance in that there's a set of stone steps that go up the hillside all the way up. It's from a subdivision, a Crocker subdivision, probably 100 years ago. And it was a common area that went up, and it's beautifully, there's some seating in the middle and steps that went up to the top. It's all overgrown now, but to say that it's not an impact to the environment doesn't really make a lot of sense. But aside from that, the street is very steep in that, and it's curving in that area. And my main concern when I looked at the drawings was the driveways were going to be 19% slope, and the street itself is 16, so they're considerably steeper than the road itself, if you've ever been up there, and I think you ought to take a look, a ride up there if you haven't. So to characterize those driveways as being parking spaces doesn't make a lot of sense, really. I mean, I get a ticket on the street if I don't curb my wheels, and a driveway like that, there's really nothing to curb your wheels against. So the city has deferred it to the traffic division, which was going to look at, and I spoke to them as well, and they're looking at making the developer show how they can get into this garage, you know, from a steep street up and then in an angle. So they told them they had to provide vertical curves, which may or may not be possible. So I guess the thing is, it needs to go, they'd have to go much lower to make it practical at all. Now, my house is, all the houses there are 1,500 square feet, you know, and I just heard that 4,000. I didn't realize how big they were across the street. So I guess we're concerned also about, and I sent the council some pictures of up the street when we've been neglected over the years, and it's, the curbs are, yeah, good. The curbs are crumbling, you know. You can't even curb your wheels in some places because they'll roll right over if you don't have a good parking brake. So we're concerned about the number of trucks that would have to go up there, and if you have to build this, we would encourage you to make the trucks go down the street, not go up Templeton. We need a lot of street improvements up there as it is because it's just been neglected over the years. There's a concrete portion of Templeton about 100 yards long, the beginning of the curve that goes
Sir, I'm
on.
going to ask you to finish up, please. Your 2 minutes is up, please.
Well, I'm saying then, in conclusion, that we need a lot of street improvements on that street, and that's a really beautiful piece of hillside that you're letting get away from you.
Thank you so much. That's the last card I have for item number 7. I'll entertain a motion to close the public. Oh, one more?
You have to fill out a card.
Please, I need a card, please. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak on any item on the agenda, please fill out a card and hand it up to staff. That will make it much more.
Do you want a card?
He's the applicant.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, pardon me. You don't need a card.
Wait for the pass.
What else do I need on here except for my name? Anything?
The street looks in bad shape.
Thank you. Miss Angela Frucci? Frucci, please, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
I originally wasn't going to say anything because I've become overly emotional, but I'll pick up
where Gino left off, which is just that I would encourage you, every single one of you, if you're truly responsible people of the city council, to drive up Templeton Avenue and see how steep this curve is and where the development is going to be. Just tonight, when we were coming to this meeting, we went to all get into a car, and there was a car coming up the hill right at the peak of the curve, where the curve bends the most. This other vehicle had to stop because it could not even execute around the curve because of the cars that are parked on either side. So, beyond that, Gino has said it all. We said everything in our representation, but I really would encourage you all to drive up and see for yourself what this project, is going to mean for parking and our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frucci. All right, the next, this is for item number 8. Okay, sir, what number did you want to speak to?
I'm a little.
Is it okay?
Well, while we hand him the mic, if we can. Okay.
I'm a little confused and I don't know the numbers.
Okay.
I was concerned about this issue today, so I decided I would drive up Templeton Street.
Okay.
And as I came up Templeton Street, I arrived at a turn, which is a right-hand turn, at the top of Templeton, going that way out towards the ocean. And I noticed the street I was on was no longer Templeton Street. And I don't understand the change of the name of the street, and it went over to Crocker. And so I'm having a difficult time understanding how properties are moving in that area that we want to make changes to.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Varney, right, got it. Is there any other comment you wish to make regarding?
I have no more comments. I'm at a loss.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now, and I see Templeton comes right in the Crocker. You're right. So I thank you for bringing that to our attention. It comes right in the Crocker. All right.
Okay, well, then I wasn't reading the street sign properly. That must have a different sign. But thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. All right.
May I?
Are you, this is the developer?
I think you want to wait for them to.
Okay.
Right, that's coming next. All right, request permission to close public hearing at this time.
Close the public hearing.
First, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing on this item is now closed. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Palin, we do have the developer here,
Project architect.
the project architect.
Owner is here also.
I'm sorry, who?
Property owners.
Oh, the property owner, okay. I'm sure my colleagues may have some questions for you. I'm sure you've heard some of the concerns tonight, and if you would speak on them, that would be great, and I'll open it up to my colleagues if they have any further questions. But you go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Vice Chair and also City Council members. My name is Tom Lau, the architect of the project. First of all, I would like to thank the staff, helping us, so we can come before you for approval tonight. For the house sizes, first of all, it's less than 2,500, not 4,000 square feet.
Oh.
So we just want to make sure that, okay?
Lot size is
Lot size is around
The lot
3,500 to
size.
4,000, yes. And we do have 2-car garage, but on the driveway, it's wide enough to park 2 more cars. So basically, we can have park 4 cars. Now, every single driveway is 90 degree to the street, so, which is the standard for every single driveway, if you talk to Public Works Department, so it's easy to turn in and out. And also the house is set back, so the visibility for the car to get out is a lot easier because there's no car blocking it. Now, we understand that because of this development, we lose some street parkings, but at the same time, we provide our sufficient parking. Now, if you're looking at, it's only 4 curb cuts, so basically we're taking out 4 cars. But at the same time, we provide 16 cars parking for our own lot. So we're hoping, that, would get the support, from the city council to look at it. Hey, we do comply the city code requirement, and plus, more than sufficient parking for our own projects. But at the same time, we understand that, the general public have issue about the public parking. But we are looking at, 4 different cars only. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any comments from my council members? Anyone? Councilmember Di Giovanni.
It's okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening. Thank you for being here. I have a couple of questions. I think the concern about the steepness, when you back out, it is a pretty narrow street, and we've all been up there. And I have a question in regards to I guess it would be our staff or you as well, on the size, you said the driveway, but is it steep when it comes up, or how can you change that?
Actually, the parking space is 19. I don't think the slope is 19%, because I just look at it. Some of them ranging from 10 to 15%, so which is normal. But usually what we would do is the first 5 feet, we want to make it as less as possible, around 5%. So that will be easier for the car to back out and in to the garage. So that will reduce the speed already for the car backing out.
So the grade is less?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
the
not.
grade is less. And then, when you were also talking about the ability, how many bedrooms are that, again, in total?
4 bedroom each.
4?
Yeah.
And then do we have a bathroom downstairs as well?
Yes, we do.
On the lower unit? Well, because I remember when we had the issue of like, when people could take houses, and we had it at planning, and because they asked them to remove the bathroom downstairs in order to make it more people moving in. We've had that issue before. Did planning go through that?
Sorry, yeah, we reviewed the floor plan, and on the ground,
On the bottom floor?
on the ground level, there's one bedroom in the bathroom.
Yeah, it's 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It's inside the bedroom. It's not a floor.
I mean, if someone wanted to go through the process at a future date to convert it to an ADU, I don't think they would be limited by that, because our zoning and ordinance would allow that with the proper permitting process. The previous project that I brought before the council.
Correct. Thank you for.
Was different, a different scenario, because that was a duplex. And the parking is based for a duplex on the number of bedrooms per unit. So it's a different scenario. The ordinance for an accessory dwelling unit in a single family home allows it to be exempt from parking, so long as that it is owner occupied. So these homes, just like any other single family home in a single family district, would be allowed to apply for an ADU. The case where you have a duplex, you already have 2 dwelling units. You cannot add a 3rd unit and call it an ADU and be exempt from parking.
Okay, so that's why we had the removal of the bathroom on the bottom.
If I may,
Sorry.
to assist Councilmember Di Giovanni.
Thank you.
That particular project, which we were concerned, basically there's a term called super homes. And I do recall that project as well.
Thank you.
That was 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. And we asked them to reduce the number of bathrooms because why would you need a bathroom for each bedroom? We know what that was going to be used for.
Yes, you're right.
But in this particular case, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 2,500 square feet, it's 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms.
3.5.
3.5? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate that. And then I just have a quick question for Mr. Chu, if he doesn't mind. I don't know if it's applicable for this item, but the way that street, I don't know if our other council members, it is in pretty bad shape. Is that on the list to be fixed, or?
There's a particular area that we are taking a look at, but we also have a condition that as a result of some of the utility work that will go on for this project, that they would have to restore the pavement back to the nearest concrete joint. This is a concrete section of pavement, and so we have a condition for that to be performed.
Yeah, because I too drove up there, and it's not the best condition, and it's pretty narrow for our emergency vehicles if it's cars parked on both sides, right? But does it meet the criteria of safety?
Yeah, I mean, it's an existing condition, existing road. It doesn't meet the nexus in terms of one developer, requiring to fix an existing situation.
Correct.
But we do have a requirement in regards to any damage as a result of the construction will need to be repaired to the satisfaction of the city.
Yeah, and as for the city, hopefully we'll help these people with this.
Yeah, there is an area that we are looking into that, does need to be addressed at this moment.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all for this time. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Giovanni. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Councilmember Dr. Rod.
What's going to happen with the existing vegetation? I know on some of these maps, it says here, it states that keep existing vegetation, because I know that whole area, I live close to that neighborhood, and I've been on that road. It's very narrow, but it's also a beautiful place of greenery.
Yeah.
Is there going to be, what's going to happen to it? Can you define more about what's going to happen to that whole area?
If you go back to one of the picture, I think there's trees on the top.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, pretty much all the existing trees on the back, it will remain.
Okay.
Yeah, because our house, because this is a steep hillside, we're stepping the house, so the setback requirement and all this, we will not extend that far back. I mean, if you look at your site plan, you will see most of the trees at the back is remain.
So the trees are remaining?
Yeah, pretty much.
But okay, got you. And then maybe this is a question to staff. Why wasn't this developed years before? Was it too dangerous to develop there, or? Just if you don't have an answer, it's fine.
I don't have a good answer. If I had to
Okay.
make a guess, it would be because of the expense of developing the steep lot.
Oh, okay.
And, with today's property values, it becomes
Right.
That's up.
Because I was just wondering, it's such a dense area, and there's already houses there. So I'm like, why is it taking this long?
It's basically the economics
That's what it
of
is,
development.
just the economics.
Land values have gotten so,
Okay.
have appreciated so much, and now, the pro forma, so to speak, for developing sites like this works. So that's why we only deal with any of the sites we deal with anymore are, tougher sites in terms of grade and
Right.
infrastructure.
Thank you. Anything
No,
else,
go
Councilmember
ahead.
Dr. Rod?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Ronaldo?
Yeah, so the question I have, it's for residential units, right?
For single-family
For
house.
single-family.
Detached single-family house.
Detached, okay. And then, this is probably not within this public hearing or not, but how do we, that's probably when we move forward and talk about other ordinances. But I guess my concern is for it not to become short-term rentals in the future, and I think that's something that we deal with on a policy level on a larger realm. But that's what I've seen. Not saying that this will become it, but It's a concern around having just short-term rentals versus having families reside in the units. So, yeah. But I will say that the design, as far as having a very steep slope, the design, and I'm quite impressed on how you've been able to work with the slope on there. But that was just my question, because it is, you said the owners are here?
Yes, one of the owners here. Actually, my understanding, when we work with our clients, even though total 4 homes, basically they want to occupy 2 already. So in a way, if we be for sales, then we be 2 only. So that's how we start the project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they'll be, they want to live in the 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nalo?
I'm done, thank you.
Thank you so much. My questions were answered. Thank you. All right.
A quick one.
Oh, Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Yeah. I see here in the, where Commissioner Crump added there may be no parking signs posted during construction. Or were all these, when I read this, you did take into consideration, these part of the conditions for during the construction, because they had a problem during the construction? And I see Commissioner Crump added that there may be no parking signs posted during the construction.
That's correct.
And that's all in a, sorry, thank you.
The city's Public Works Department will issue a parking permit for the construction vehicles and a haul route. And so that'll be reviewed at the time of construction.
Okay, so they'll be considered that not to always go up and down the Templeton area?
Well, this is a one-way street.
Yeah.
There's not any reason that we could see that we would reverse traffic for construction vehicles. The project's actually going to be, would be constructed in stages where one half of the site would be used for parking construction vehicles, while where the first 2 homes were built, the lots for the second 2 homes would be used for staging construction after rough grading.
Okay. And then any of the concerns, their neighbors can come and speak with you as well, obviously, if they have problems.
We're always available to answer any questions, and if there are any problems with construction vehicles parking where they're not supposed to park outside of the boundaries of their permit or parking illegally, of course, the neighbors can always come to planning or engineering.
Because we do have those kind of ordinances on the construction.
We actually approve a haul route permit and a construction vehicle parking permit, temporary parking permits, is my understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Chu.
Yes, for any type of construction project, the contractors do have the ability to request parking obstruction permits from the Public Works Department, and we would review those on a case-by-case, and if appropriate, we would issue those so that they could use some of the spaces right in front of the property for construction purposes.
Yeah, and they'll be, the neighbors will be considered in this.
Yeah, I mean, as Mike mentioned, I mean, we're always available to address any concerns and to talk to the neighbors. If they're constructing in a way that's not appropriate, we have our inspectors out there, code enforcement to.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Chu.
Yes.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Manalo?
Yeah. Thank you. I have a question, and maybe this is for staff. The concern was that I heard also from many is that it's a narrow slope and you can't see cars, right, coming from a certain area. Is that correct? Or is it
You mean
visibility?
a narrow street?
Yeah. Is it visibility wise? Because when they turn, is there an issue on that on the curve?
So my understanding is the concern when you're driving
From
up
where?
Templeton and then making that right turn there, because
Yeah.
it's one way that direction. When you're coming up Templeton, making that right, it's somewhat steep and somewhat narrow. There are cars parked on both sides of the street. So that was a concern that was expressed.
Or it's just,
The
yeah.
project at this stage isn't fully designed and all the details haven't been worked out yet, but typically when they get into further detailed design, we work with, if necessary, work with the engineers to flesh out some of these situations in terms of visibility,
Okay.
steepness, and those things, yes.
Great. No, I mean, I guess that's one thing it's great to hear that staff is gonna work around kind of.
Yeah, fortunately,
How to become safer and more visible, I guess, now that there's gonna be more people like living and then also more cars entering and exiting.
That's correct. Now that if this project is approved, then it will be an occupied site as opposed to a vacant site, and then we would look at the accessing the site and exiting the site. Fortunately, it's on the long side of the curve, and so typically that works better than being on the inside of the curve in terms of visibility.
Do those mirrors work? You
I
know,
was gonna-
sometimes when they have like it's not visible or it's dangerous and they have those mirrors.
Concave mirrors.
Yeah, concave mirrors.
Typically, in the public works field, we don't rely on those types of mirrors in the public right-of-way. Typically, those are for garages and those type of situations. In the public right-of-way, there's a lot of issues in terms of the elements, the adjustments, the sun, the glare, that typically results in those not being used in the public right-of-way for that reason, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Only one, Mr. Chu, just one quick question. Poor Mr. Chu. How about any signage or any, while we're on the subject of the curve? Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yes, if necessary, signage,
something.
warning signs, if necessary, curve ahead or slow. Those things are all fleshed out during the detailed design.
Can we make that part of it, any conditions, Vice Mayor? Or,
Well, I feel that Public Works, you're
Does
the
their job, yeah.
experts, and we are all concerned about safety, and I would hope
Yeah.
that appropriate signs would go up should we approve this project during the course of construction.
and after, right?
Again, we would work with the applicant's engineers to flesh out appropriate signage if necessary, or other types of traffic measures.
Now, as for regulatory signs, like yellow signs, steep curve ahead, or limited visibility, I think you have to go through the state and get approval for that, for regulatory signs, yellow or...
Yeah, if we use standard pre-approved signage from the MUTCD, then local agencies can use those at our discretion. There's certain signage that would require city council approval on.
Oh,
And
okay.
if, in those situations, we would present something to city council for those types of signs.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, so I would need to, okay, I would entertain a motion if we want to adopt the resolution. Anyone? I will make the motion that we adopt the resolution. Will anyone else second?
A second.
All right, first and a second, roll call, please.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Given the fact that Mr. Chu is going to be available to the residents and safety concerns will be addressed, it'll be an aye.
Ms. Manalo?
Aye.
Mr. Dr. Rod?
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester?
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is item number 8, use permit UPR-3-19-13936 and design review DR-4-18-13424. Expansion of an existing two-story medical office building at 211 Eastmore. And Mr. Longhausen.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a request for an expansion of an existing two-story office building by NEMS at 211 East Moore Avenue. The project's been before the Planning Commission, and they've forwarded it to the City Council for review. Project site's located generally at the northeast intersection of Eastmore Avenue and Zeta Manor, and an existing office building occupies the site. The proposal is to replace an existing one-story portion of this office building, which is a 1,200 square foot lab with a two-story medical office use consisting largely of examination space. This would result in a building that would provide approximately 8,300 square feet of medical office space on the ground floor and 8,100 square feet of medical office space on the second floor, for a total of about a 16,500 square foot building. This is a site photo from Eastmore Avenue looking toward the northwest at the existing office, which is here. On the right side of the photo is the parking lot that serves the existing office building. This is a site photo from Zeta Manor looking to the southeast. This is a secondary project entrance which exists. It, however, is not used. The only access to the site is via Eastmore Avenue. And this is the area, this is the one-story structure behind this tree that would be removed and replaced with the two-story building. The project's surrounded by townhouses to the west and to the south across Eastmore Avenue, as well as single-family residential neighborhood that exists to the north on Zeta Manor. This is the proposed site plan. This is the location of the office building expansion. It's a little blow up of what that is. This is the existing office building, and this is where the proposed two-story addition would occur. Again, to the north and to the northeast of the existing building. This is the proposed first floor. As I indicated previously, we're looking at essentially laboratory space, examination room type uses here. Proposed second floor, examination space. These are the proposed east and south elevations. The city staff has issued some conditions of approval, which I think we have. This is the north and west elevations. We may have listed here, yes, conditions of approval concerning some of the architectural elements. We wanted to make sure that the project continued to provide a appealing architectural presence in the neighborhood. We've required some additional awnings between the first and second floor, extending on the east side of the building and the north elevation as well. These would be constructed from galvanized metal so as to resist rust, and painted the same color as the decorative fence, which we've actually found quite attractive and wanted to carry that on to the building in terms of its quality and color. We've also required installation of some trellises in between proposed windows, extending from the ground to the underside of the awning to provide further building articulation. The City Council is requested to approve a use permit in determining the land use compatibility for that. The Council's requested to examine the compatibility with existing uses. Of course, there's already an existing office building on the site. Council needs to determine that an expansion of that is compatible with that use and the adjacent residential uses. Infrastructural capacity has been determined by the engineering division to be sufficient for that site, and the fire department has also reviewed this and found no issues with infrastructural capacity to serve the addition. The last is parking and circulation. The city was requested to approve a site plan that provides 55 parking spaces. This meets the parking space requirement identified by the zoning ordinance for a 16,500 square foot building. The parking layout would essentially remain the same as exists on the site today. Some of the parking aisles are substandard to the current zoning ordinance requirement of 26 feet. However, the parking lot seems to be functioning fine, and so there's really not any feasible way of providing any additional width. The proposal is exempt from CEQA. At the Planning Commission meeting, the a neighbor, I think a couple of neighbors have expressed some concern about traffic visibility at the intersection of Zeta Manor and Eastmore Avenue. This is currently an intersection that has no stop signs other than the streets that are feeding into it. So Zeta Manor has to stop at Eastmore Avenue. Traffic east and westbound essentially does not stop. Have been some issues expressed. This is essentially an existing condition. There have been some concerns with the safety of a motorist pulling out in I think mostly in the eastbound direction, even the westbound direction, related to the visibility. There was a traffic study that was actually prepared for this project, and that traffic study did take a look and made some recommendations about some potential additional red curbing in this area. This is something that the Traffic Safety Committee would normally take up. At the Planning Commission meeting, the neighbor who brought this issue up was directed by the Planning Commission and staff to go ahead and request that the Traffic Safety Committee consider that. And so that is still something that's available, to that person. Again, it's an existing condition. This project, the traffic study found, does not exacerbate that condition at all. The site's sole ingress and egress is further down here, and there have been some, again, a recommendation that the city can consider requiring some additional red zone at the project driveway. Planning Commission recommending approval of the project. If there's any questions, the staff's available to answer those, and the applicants are here as well.
Thank you, Mr. Luckhausen. Any comments from council?
Not at this time.
Okay. I'd like entertain a motion to open up to public hearing. I do have a couple of cards.
Motion to open public hearing?
Oh, no motion. Boy, I gotta remember that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Okay, I do have a couple of cards, and we'll start off with Ms. Marion Seiki. Thank you. Excuse me, sorry.
You know, I don't know how many times I've been here. I think I've been living on Zeta Manor for 42 years. I've spoken to this council, previous council, maybe 6 or 7 times regarding a 4-way stop sign for Zeta Manor. It is insane to get out of Zeta Manor, and we've already put in that 6-foot corner. It's not enough. You know, Daly City is not known for sun, but when you come out of that and we have a sunny day, that is awful. It is blinding. And I have to drive like this and creep out. I almost have to tell my husband, get out and walk across the street so I can get out. I'm not kidding. And then when you have Pauline Brown Elementary School coming up, Eastmore High School, Westmore High School coming down, it's impossible to get out of that street safely. Now you're going to put in 55 parking spaces. How many employees are going to work at that place? You're going to make that second floor office examination rooms. You're increasing traffic. People are going to be constantly coming to visit doctors, making visits, and you're going to only use Eastmore as your driveway because you don't want to use Zeta Manor. You'll never get out of there. You really got to consider putting a stop sign. I've had meetings with council members at my house. I've had petitions from every neighbor saying we want it. And I don't know what it's going to take short of one of us getting killed crossing that street. Really. You've got to consider. And then I understand Pauline Brown is going to give up part of their schoolyard for teacher housing. You don't think that's going to impact Eastmore? So do I have to come again to speak before you on that flow of traffic from the teachers, from the school, then all the new people that are going to be using this? I have nothing against building the second floor. I just want a 4-way stop sign, please.
Thank you. Next speaker we have is Augustus Dagan. Tagara. Okay. Good evening.
Thank you, Commissioners and Vice Mayor. I have a concern about short-term impact of the project. Parking, again. Just want to make sure that the contractors are are limited to parking within the facility.
Okay.
As you know, Cedar Manor is very, we have limited parking, day or night. And, with construction happening, and of course, the workers coming, and then long-term, more workers coming through the site, it will impact our street and also our quality of life at Cedar Manor. So I just want to make sure that, the applicants, follow the rules and keep the parking limited to the site during construction.
Thank you.
Got it.
All right. All right, I have no other cards at this time, and I'm going to close the public comment. Do we have additional questions from council to staff regarding?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Giovanni.
Yeah, I was just want to know if I could ask the applicant, or should I wait till after you close the public hearing?
Oh, it's closed at this time. Public hearing is now closed.
Yeah.
But you can still, you can ask the applicant, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Is the applicant here this evening? Oh, please, step up. We may have some questions for you, or at least Councilmember Di Giovanni.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, I'm Dan
Yes.
Boyle. I work for MCG Architecture. We represent Northeast Medical Services, who's the...
Can you speak up a little bit? So.
Oh. Hi, I'm Dan Boyle. I work for MCG Architecture. We represent Northeast Medical Services, who's the applicant, who's the property owner here.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Di Giovanni.
Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. And this also may include staff. In regards to, you already heard the issues from the residents, and I know that you guys have been really great neighbors, and I appreciate that. So 55 parking spots. Is there any, in your medical facilities, any way you give people like passes when, like, like when you're a patient, you put a pass in the window to make sure they park in your parking lot? And if they don't, then we can figure out something that if they park on the street is still public, but I don't know, to try to come up with something to make sure that they are parking at your facility rather than on our street? Is there any suggestion or
Sure.
like a NIMS pass or?
Hi, my name is Johnson.
Hi,
I'm the
welcome.
CFO for Northeast Medical Services. I think regarding the parking spaces, I believe there's enough parking within the confines of the area itself that we won't have to, our patients probably won't even need to go outside.
Yeah, is there any way to encourage them?
Like, just through our own education, I'm sorry.
The distance from the nearest residential parking would be quite a ways because there's no pedestrian access through the gate that on Zeta Manor, so you have to walk all the way to the front door.
Oh.
It's just much easier to park in their parking lot.
Oh, okay, so if it just the setup itself actually encourages them to do that. Thank you for that, just for clarification. And that corner is crazy with the four-way stop sign, so probably not for you guys, but for again, Mr. Chu, would you mind? I know that she has campaigned for a four-way forever, or did it ever get looked at? And because I know this has been an ongoing issue in Pauline Brown and Westmore students coming early in the mornings and the afternoons.
Yeah, so all stop sign requests are reviewed by our traffic safety committee. And there's also specific warrant requirements in order to justify installation of a stop sign. And so there's volume requirements in terms of, and also accident requirements. These regulations, these warrants are set by the state in regards to if you meet these triggers, then that justifies a stop sign. And the reason for that is that you don't want to have a lot of stop signs that cause significant inconvenience to the motorists, because what ends up happening is then they start ignoring the stop signs. And for that reason, the state has warrants that need to be met. And later on, if there's additional development at the school in regards to housing or whatever type of expansion or change of use,
there'll be additional traffic studies requested at that time to see if there's any impact.
Yeah, because probably the increase of volume maybe will cause that it might qualify, right?
Yes,
Probably in the beginning when they first asked, it didn't have as much, but I know that it's a significant impact in traffic
Yeah,
when you go down
this
that road.
development itself, I mean, based on the traffic studies provided by the applicant and reviewed by our traffic engineer, at this moment, there isn't enough to trigger that.
Okay, not yet, but you can also look at it again, or?
Well, we can definitely look at it. Again, it needs to be gone through our traffic safety committee, which has, as you know, several different departments that kind of consider that. So when we get those requests, then that's where we direct it to, is direct it to
Right,
the.
given the fact that they're going to have 55, but thankfully that where your location is a good location so that the patients are closer to the thing. And I know you have a lot of seniors and stuff that you take care of. So thank you for that. I'm okay, thank you.
Hi, and, hello. Sorry, my name is Jessica. I also work for Northeast Medical Services. I just wanted to address the construction concern. We will be parking all of our construction vehicles inside the parking lot while construction is happening, so it will not impact the neighboring parking areas. So.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Di Giovanni.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Manalo?
Thank you.
Ms. Bureau.
Thank you for speaking on that item. That was my question around construction parking from the resident. And so that's good to know that it'll be within your vicinity. Also, I just wanted to know, I know, Mr. Chu, you talked about how the issue around the four-way has to go through the traffic committee. So just history-wise, has this been studied? I just need to know around timeline, has the request been studied in the past?
Yes, so prior to this expansion request, that request has been brought up, and at that time, it was looked at by the Traffic Safety Committee.
Okay.
And
And it did not meet the threshold?
Correct, didn't have sufficient warrants at that time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. I just want to make a comment on a couple of things. How many parking spots are available on that site now?
The number of parking spaces, I believe, is the same number, 55.
It is. I counted it.
Yeah. Is that a trick question?
Yeah. And then on the the business, what are the hours of the business?
We run 8:30 to 5.
Thank you.
Monday through Friday, and we run every other Saturday.
Okay, because I count 24 parking spaces on the outside on the streets as well, alongside the business, to include part on Zeta Manor. So after 5:30, then if there are any patients who decide to walk into the building, those parking spots would be clear. My other comment I would like to make is, Mr. Chu, thank you for the information regarding the stop sign. A lot of folks within the city request stop signs. A lot of folks request speed bumps. But it has to go through a committee based upon standards. And I'm sorry to say, you're waiting for an accident to happen before you folks would do something. Well, if there's no statistics, then why would we slow down traffic or put in something that's not needed? So Zeta Manor's been there a long time. How long has this building been there? NEMS? 5
I
years?
believe,
10 years?
no, this building's been there since at least the 1960s, I believe. Been 1960s.
So the folks that live on Zeta, they've always had to deal with this problem with that building there coming out, heading southbound on Zeta to go east and west on
Conceivably
Eastmore.
true, yes.
So that's an existing condition. Well, I have no further comments I'd like to make, but I just wanted to put out that for part of the record. Thank you. All right.
I have no comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Rod. All right, thank you so much. Okay, so is anyone willing to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
First and second. Roll call, please.
Ms. DiGiovanni?
And I know that they'll look at it at the traffic committee. Thank you.
Ms. Manalo?
Aye.
Dr. Rod?
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester?
Aye. Thank you. All right. Next item, thank you, Mr. Longhausen, and thank you,
Yeah,
staff,
thank you.
Mr. Chu, and everyone.
Thank you for staff.
Being here. All right, the next item is appointments, board, commission membership, committee appointments. Anyone?
No.
None. All right, we'll go next, item number 9, council committee reports. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? All right, city council reports.
I do.
Councilmember Manalo, please.
Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you. On May 16, I came a little later, but I know that there was the Daly City Arts and Culture exhibit. And right now, there's amazing artwork in the Rotunda. We have artists Elaine Velasper Dizon, Adrian Orilla, and Yvonne Newhouse until August 13th. So if you haven't checked it out, it's a free exhibit, and it's right on the 3rd floor of City Hall. On May 17th, I had the pleasure of joining Elaine Francisco, who is a Daly City teacher who retired and is from teaching for over 20 years. On May 18, I had the pleasure of joining the Tomasians USA for their 32nd anniversary, and also was there was the Philippine Consul General and also Council Member DiGiovanni. Oh, and on May 22nd with Mr. Vice Mayor and Council Member DiGiovanni and Supervisor Canapa, we joined the Iftar at Westmore High School, which is its annual event there filled with community and Vice Mayor's favorite thing, food. So it's breaking the fast, right?
Thank you.
And on May 23rd, there was an inaugural event that happened in Redwood City, the San Mateo Asian Pacific Islander event that had appointed officials and elected officials to talk about what they can do together, since there's a large Asian Pacific Islander population in the whole San Mateo County. And Vice Mayor and Dr. Rod Daus-Makbal was present. Lastly, on May 24th at Panorama School, there was a proclamation from the City Council for the students and the teacher. Council Member Pamela DiGiovanni was there as well, but it was really a time to honor the kids. They've been donating to the pantry for 5 years, so really teaching young people empathy and to give back. And so that is the last of the events, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Thank you. I don't want to double repeat because we all at the same one. I'll just make it quickly. We both attended the Councilmember Manalo and I, the Elaine's retirement, and also the Panorama School, as you heard. I just got a list. And the great thing was that we went, also when I attended the Alice Kumare's event that was prior to the Tomasians. Alice Kumare's, as you heard, was deals with domestic violence, especially under Alice Bulos, that was the founder, dealing in the Filipino community. And also on Memorial Day, I was at Cypress Lawn with Supervisor David Canapa. And the Italian Catholic Federation had an event with the Jefferson Union High School District graduating class of 2019. They held a mass at Holy Angels and a small presentation. And then also the Active Adults and Seniors event that we had, I'll let the Vice Mayor and everyone expand on that event. It was a great time there as well. And arts and culture, as she said, these are like once in a lifetime you get to see these artists. And I have to say, given the Asian Heritage Month celebration, it's very important that people take the time, bring their families, go upstairs, and view such art that you'll never see again. So I think that's it for now for that. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni. Dr. Rod Dasmakbawala, you have anything?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So on May 15th, Councilmember DiGiovanni and Councilmember Justin Manalo and I attended the Daly City Retired Employees Association luncheon.
That was great.
That was great. So we got to hear stories of like war stories working here. But I really appreciated the stories and narratives. It gives me a context of like how we've grown as a city. I also had the honor to be the keynote speaker for the City College of San Francisco Filipino graduation, which was their second annual. And then later on that night, I got to attend, or later on that weekend, I got to attend the Spotlight Dance Competition in Santa Clara, where the Westlake School of Performing Arts totally killed it. And shout out to my daughter who won Miss Junior Spotlight. Didn't expect anything, but she came out and won the whole thing. So, and kudos to like the artists that are exhibited here at City Hall. A lot of them either I've worked with as a student at SF State or are like family friends to me. So their work is very, very, I think people should go and check it out. Because in terms of understanding like the Asian Pacific Islander experience and understanding that these are all women artists, coming from their perspectives, it gives you another angle of like how their realities are played out in real life. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Rod. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge Carlton Yee, Head Scoutmaster, Troop Leader, the Boy Scouts of America, and 2 scouts that he has with him today. Apparently, that's part of the going through the training of being a great future leader is to also see how government works. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And before any of the council members leave, stick around for a minute because they always like to get a picture. Okay?
Of course.
Okay. Not yet. Not yet. All right. Everybody here on council forgot an event.
I know.
What was it?
Oh, I was about her award as well.
Oh, no. The Shine event.
Oh, the best, oh my gosh.
Did we talk about that the last time? No, we didn't. Okay.
Pouring down rain, right?
Well, that's okay. It was raining, but we can go inside, and through the support of Supervisor David Canepa, and as Council Member Manalo alluded to it earlier, where else can you go to a family day event, a fair, and eat for free? So it was very good. So thank you for the folks, Pacific Islanders Together, for putting that event together. And it was a great event. Councilmember DiGiovanni, you showed up later on to give recognition to Ms. Raina Mayafua, who helped put it together. I was at the IFTAR event. Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. And yep, that's my favorite subject, is food. I'd like to make mention also, at the last council meeting, I had spoke about the library, DCPLA. And I said that my name wasn't on the list as a donor. Well, that was my mistake because that was from 2018, but they assured me I'll be on the list for next year. We have the 2 more items. Council DiGiovanni alluded to it. They had the senior adult health fair at Pacelli Gymnasium. And this was the 3rd annual, the first time I have ever went to it. And, well, I'll never miss it again. Not that I did any exercise, but they had all the seniors up in the front dancing. I think they call it Zumba, but they were out there, and good resource information to have and to visit. Lastly, and near and dear to my heart, Daly City, we treat staff as our family. Councilmember DiGiovanni and myself had the opportunity, thank you, City Manager Ms. Maltby, to invite me to the first annual chili cook-off at Water and Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Anita.
My wife came as well at the last minute, but when you're there, it's the feeling that you get that you are part of family. And it's hard to explain, but I think that comes by as a result of being under the leadership of the director, Tom Piccolotti, because he made me feel so comfortable, and the employees and staff, it was great. But not only that, even though I did go for the food, I just want to let you know, Department of Wastewater and Water Treatment, they can burn. City manager knows that word. For those of you who don't know, when you say somebody can burn, that means they can cook. So it was a great event. Thank you for that. And
Judge.
That goes without saying. Thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni. We were both judges. And the one that won, Mr. Carbajal, he's a brand new employee, still on probation, but maybe this might give him a way to stick around, because we love him too, especially if you can cook chili like him. I do know the special ingredient that he put in there, but I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to keep that a secret. Maybe he might win next year. All right, with that being said, Scoutmaster, did you want to say anything quickly? Oh, you just come up for a picture, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vice Mayor.
I was here about 2 years ago. It seemed like this parking situation would never go.
May I know that because our Councilwoman Justin Manalo is very humble, she won an award of being the Alumni of the Year 2019 for SF State, and on the plaque, I couldn't remember all the words, but we know it was for justice and for her values that she holds, and it's demonstrated through her work on the council. So I just wanted to acknowledge her for that, and it's well-deserved. Bravo.
Mr. Yee, I do remember you 2 years ago, and I think that council meeting went long time, too, that night as well. But thank you so much for coming. It's always great to have you. All right, I'd like to adjourn this council meeting in the honor of the following, and I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Yes, I'd like to close and adjourn in the memory of David Dart. He's the father of Melinda Dart, who is president of the AFT 3267 and our San Mateo County Labor Council, and a teacher and friend that we all love. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni. The category for employees and/or their immediate families are Marcial Malanao. It's Cilo Limas, who's the video person in the back, who tapes each one of these meetings, and it's her grandfather. So we want to adjourn in memory of, again, Marcio Malanao. Can we briefly pause for a moment of silence, please? Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.